So for a lot
All
of
right.
you who may not know the inner workings of politics in South Florida, what I can tell you is that, and of course, this is on the corporate media and whatnot, keeping this election very much under wraps. And you're wondering, well, why would they keep this election under wraps? There is a special congressional election in Florida's 20th district. That is a district
Yes.
that was housed for 30 years by Alcee Hastings.
And he died.
He passed.
And it's we all knew this was happening. I mean, he had like stage 4 cancer and still decided to run again. Anyway, so he died, and so now there are a whole bunch of vultures that have come out of the woodwork for a seat that they somehow weren't brave enough to think they deserved prior to someone. They had to wait for someone to die, even though they've all been sitting there hovering over it, seriously, like vultures on a carcass. And yet there is one candidate that is progressive, and really progressive, not progressive by label only, like she's actually a progressive person, and has run for this seat, has name recognition, has money, and is really the person, and was brave enough to challenge him twice while he was still alive. That's the kind of courage we need. We don't need a bunch of politicos sitting around in whatever position they have or just got elected to, and then see something better up the ladder and decide to go for it. We don't need that. Okay. All of these people were perfectly fine sitting and waiting and doing whatever they were doing until an opportunity that they waited for. And Sheila is the only one of these people that has been fighting for that district for years now. So this is something that matters to us. Meanwhile,
Sheila
Scherfulus.
That right?
No, F-I-L-U-S.
F-I-L-U-S. McCormick.
Yes.
So we have done a podcast with her.
Yes, guys, we have interviewed Sheila. It's Sheila.
So if you guys would,
I say it well, Sheila Scherfulus McCormick. I'm very proud of being able to say that.
So if you want to check out the podcast, highly recommend that you do. So I thought that she was just a great progressive candidate to begin with. She is a huge supporter of Medicare for All and UBI. Yes. In fact, UBI is one of the primary issues that she's campaigning on, especially in a district that desperately needs cash relief.
Right now.
I mean, if you're talking about the housing crisis that we're heading for, that is here right now. I mean, talk about a district that could really benefit from it. And she's doing an amazing job, but what I didn't know, and apparently
I knew,
you knew, but I didn't. No, but I did not know, is that Sheila actually is very financially well off because she is an entrepreneur.
And he means her campaign.
Yes.
You shouldn't be talking about people's finances like that. He didn't realize that Sheila also had some financial, help in her campaign. He didn't realize that she was viable financially. No, I did. I knew that because I've known her since last campaign.
No, 100%. And it's a testament to her, as a person and what she has been able to accomplish. And hats off, because she is amazing. I mean, she really is.
And yet,
we have the Sun-Sentinel, unfortunately, is what you would call the regional version of the Washington Post. That's basically what it is.
If the Sun-Sentinel was a person, it would be our bootlicker pretty regularly.
So unfortunately...
So today we have a story.
Yes, we have a story. And unfortunately, we are dealing with a gentleman who happens to be Debbie Wasserman Schultz's attack dog. Let's just put it that way. That's basically his role.
And we'll get into all of this in a second. But so this reading, everybody, will be from the Journal of Contemporary Yellow Journalism, a record of news fit to piss on. And this is a premiere of this particular journal, so we hope you guys like this.
And there may be others, but in this case,
we're starting with this particular person, and I'm happy about it. Let's do it.
So the gentleman's name is Anthony Tony Mann. He writes for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. And once upon a time, there was a hack reporter that worked for a hack newspaper. Instead of reporting actual facts, the reporter spewed racist and misogynist nonsense at the behest of the corporate establishment. Some might even say he was their bitch. He never missed an opportunity to lick the boots of his local elected officials and quash progress. The end. And so why are we doing this story? The reason we're doing it is because if you were to read the article in the Sun-Sentinel that Tony Mann wrote about Sheila Scherfulus McCormick, you would literally want to pull out his hair.
He's just, you talk about what he insinuate, like the way he writes. And by the way, let me preface this. The headline of the article, what was the headline of the article? It was candidate raises staggering, or like he called it
wealthy candidate gives staggering amount of money to her own campaign.
Right, like he phrased it like this was so bad. But yet this is the same person who has never once questioned where our representative gets her money from. So when we ran against Debbie,
and this is what's even more interesting, because our guest Walker Bragman is actually going to be here in a minute, and this is on the heels. He writes this article on the heels of David Leventhal of the Business Insider in Washington, D.C., writing what you would call like a periodical of sorts in terms of the length. He wrote an article that includes Debbie Wasserman Schultz as one of 3 congressional representatives who have violated the Stock Act, which means that Debbie's involved in insider trading.
Which, again, I don't like to be somebody who points that out, because, again, that's one of those things to me that I feel like everybody does. And it's like
it's so clear.
It's like getting Al Capone on tax evasion.
That is true, but it's so clear as to, well, it's still terrible anyway.
Well,
I mean, they're all like guilty of all that stuff.
I know, and I'm not saying I support insider trading. I'm just saying, like,
it's very important to note, though, that this particular article, if you were to read it, again, Tony Mann, Sheila Sherfullis McCormick. If you read this article, I'm telling you right now, you would literally, your stomach would turn.
Lauren Steiner, if you want to talk about misogyny.
This is as bad as it gets. He's basically implying, how in the hell does a black woman in her 40s have the financial resources to do this?
He calls into question, without any sort of information, he calls it into question and just puts that out there. How could she afford to do this? So you don't question the corporate money, but a woman in her 40s, a black woman in her 40s, can't possibly have the resources to do that. Would you have questioned it if it was somebody else? Because you didn't ever question it before with any other candidate.
Not at all.
So I just find it interesting. And interestingly, Sheila is the one candidate that they didn't mention when they first talked about. If you look
at any of the articles that have been written about this congressional race, Sheila is always left out of the conversation.
They mention the other 5 people that are the more
viable
people, and they don't mention Sheila. And this is when he feels the need to mention Sheila, is to call into question how she came into her money. How dare you?
And this
kidding me?
And without further ado, because I think this is.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.